this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
You're not in Kansas anymore. You're in Pandora. It's my job to keep you alive. Keep you from any stupid takes. I will not succeed. Not with all of you. There's a bunch of people out there on Twitter who want to take your takes and turn them into jujubes. If you follow my rules, you've got a chance.
Listen, Colonel, I gotta finish this. There's one more thing. It's a ceremony. It's the final stage of becoming a man. If I do it, I become one of them. It's Avatar next on the Pot of Dreams.
You Jake Sully? I'd like to talk to you about a fresh start on a new world. You'd be making a difference.
I became a Marine for the hardship. I told myself I can pass any test a man can pass. All I ever wanted was a single thing worth fighting for.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora.
You should see your faces.
We have an indigenous population called the Na'vi. They are very hard to kill.
This is why we're here. Because this little gray rock sells for $20 million a kilo. Their village happens to be resting on the richest deposit, and they need to relocate. Those savages are threatening our whole operation. We're on the brink of war, and you're supposed to be finding a diplomatic solution.
The concept is to drive these remotely controlled bodies, called avatars. They're grown from human DNA, mixed with DNA of the natives.
Marine in an avatar body. That's a potent mix.
You get me what I need, I'll see to it you get your legs back. Your real legs.
Hell yeah, sir.
Looks like you. This is your avatar.
Just relax and let your mind go blank. It shouldn't be hard for you.
Jake, it's real simple. I want you to learn from the inside. I want you to gain their trust.
You should not be here. Go back. All this is your fault.
I need your help.
Haven't gotten lost in the woods, have you?
Did you forget what team you're playing for?
Strong prey on the weak, and nobody does a thing.
You've got 1 hour.
You knew this would happen?
Everything changed. Jake, it's crazy here. Before Rich is rolling and there's no stopping him.
We're going up against gunships with bows and arrows.
Well, I guess we better stop him.
They've sent us a message that they can take whatever they want. But we will send them a message that this is our land.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Pot of Dreams. This is Avatar, Ben and Eric breaking it all down. If you listen, we will pod. We're going with biggest movie in the history of mankind, Avatar, from 2009. It's been re-released. I saw it in the theater with my whole family in 3D. I relived the experience. Ben, I'm guessing you watched it at home?
Correct. You had the ideal way of seeing it. And now, Eric,
it's the only way to see this movie. Really,
that's probably even a better way to put it. You haven't been to Disney World ever?
I have not.
And I don't.
There's a ride though, right? Isn't there a Pandora World in Disney World?
Well, there were, but there probably is, but that's not even what I'm talking about. I don't know. They might not have. Maybe they have one of these at Valley Fair. I don't think so, but there are these things at Disney World, and they might have them at Six Flags, at various amusement parks. They're like these 10-minute 3D shows, and it's got some stupid little plot, and you see the 3D effects, and it's a bunch of gimmicks, and you watch it for 10 minutes, and you react to the 3D effects. There's a Muppet one at Disney World I went to that I don't know if it's even still around.
Do you have a mask or what? Like glasses?
You wear 3D glasses. Okay. You just wear the 3D glasses, and yeah, they throw. It's a goofy little silly thing. Avatar is that, but stretched out to 2.5 hours. That's to me what it's like. So if you're seeing
That's
it at home
not fair.
on a...
That's not fair.
I think it's totally fair.
No.
If you're seeing it at home on a decent-sized TV, it's fine. But it's clearly meant to be seen in a theater with 3D, and that's the whole point of the movie.
You did when it originally was released. You saw it in the theater.
I saw it in 3D twice. I had a really good time. It really sounds like I'm denigrating the movie. I'm not.
And so you hadn't seen it since then, right? Is that right? And you watched it at home for this.
2010. Yeah, because I just didn't have an opportunity to go to a theater.
Because some asshole that you do a podcast with suggested we do Avatar, and so you watch it at home.
It was, again, the only option. Got a baby at home. Just getting out to the theater is not very easy. It would have been preferable. It's playing at a place, 15 minutes, 10 minutes from where I live. One of those, brewery movie theater combo places. Like, it'd be fun. I would have had a good time. It wasn't possible. And it looks good on a big screen, but it's not as good. There are so many shots that I remember vividly. There's a shot where we see a guy putting. And, the...
Robicio, Robbie, I like this putter, Robbie.
Yeah, it comes at you. There's times where you see Jake Sully, after he first inhabits the Avatar body, he's running, and you see, the dirt kick up. And, you get this ground level shot, and I remember the dirt kicking up, 12 years ago. All that stuff just doesn't look as cool on a smaller screen, not in 3D.
Well, so I think you're kind of conflating two things. There's how it looks visually and the experience of seeing the movie. And I think this movie, I think, unlike in the history of film, I cannot think of another example where watching it in the theater with 3D is literally an experience that you can't replicate unless you do that, unless you're in the theater. So I took the whole family, spent $80, by the way, four of us. I mean, with the 3D, it's $17 a ticket.
That's not even concessions. That's
just the ticket price. It's ridiculous to spend that kind of money. And then we got candy and all this shit. Yeah, we spent $100 at least to go to the movies. Fucking insane. But seeing my kids see the sort of floating seeds that land on Jake, and trying to grab them and stuff, and
right.
I mean, there's nothing like it ever that I've ever experienced in the movie theater. But
it's a ride. It's basically like a ride.
It's like a ride.
Me, that I don't think that's a horrible analogy.
But that I think is on top of the movie. I think that it's almost two different things. There's the experience and then what you're watching.
To me, that is the movie. The writing for this movie gets knocked a lot, and I am going to say, if I could give James Cameron one note, don't call it unobtainium. Don't call it anything. They don't need a name for it.
That's a burst-out laugh when he says it. And actually, I noticed this. So in preparing for this podcast, I watched the trailer, the original trailer. He says everything but unobtainium. He's like, it's this rock that we need to get, and it's worth us. He never says unobtainium, because I'm sure after they watch they're like, this is stupid. This is such a dumb name for. I mean, it is awful that they call it unobtainium.
You literally don't need to name it at all. You have all the description, like you just said.
Well, they would have a name for it. I mean, they would name it.
It's maybe, but we don't need it as the audience. Who cares?
Well, vibranium in Wakanda, is that it's better than unobtainium.
Well, we see what vibranium does. The only thing this material does is become the plot. This is why we care about this planet.
Well, we don't even really know what the dust. It helps them do space travel.
We don't know that it helps with space travel.
True.
We don't know.
They don't even say that.
We don't know anything about it. It doesn't matter. Okay, they have a substance that we want. It's fine. I don't need a name for it. Yes, in real life, if you care about flushing out the reality of the film, it would have a name. But you showed it to us. You explained it from a plot, like Giovanni Risi says, this is why we're here. This is what pays for everything. This is why we're doing this really expensive. This is why we're going 6 years, one way to this other planet.
Has Cameron ever, other than I'll Be Back and the bitch from Alien, has he ever written great dialogue? I mean, Titanic is just them saying their names back and forth the whole fucking movie. I love James Cameron. He's one of the best directors. His movies are indelible to me, but I wouldn't accuse him of being a poet.
No, but T2 is really well written. Like, I would say Terminator 2, and not the best movie of all time. I'm not saying that. Don't saddle me that, but it's a really well written movie, I think. Top to bottom, like the structure of the narrative, the way it goes about doing it, the way it develops the characters.
Well,
I think is really
I think
good.
Avatar does a great job of developing the story. I mean, whether or not you like the story is one thing, because it is basically Dances with the Wolves.
It's Ferngully. It's Dances with Wolves. It's Ferngully. Take your pick of what he stole from. No, I was going to say, though, other than Unobtainium being just egregiously stupid, the plot's fine. It's structured. You get stuff introduced in the first act that comes back in the third. Things tie together. It's flushed out. It's ham-fisted, sure.
But
it's
the
simplistic,
other thing,
sure. But
the takeaway from this movie is like very anti-capitalism. Like,
it would
very
be accused of being too woke.
Anti-industrial, military-industrial complex. Like, for the biggest, I mean, literally, this movie is closing in on $3 billion. Like, with this release, it was the number 2 movie this last weekend. Like, it's insane. And now he's, the second. We got to talk about the second one. Obviously, that's part of the reason why I picked this is he's got a new movie coming out. But like, for a movie that is literally the biggest movie ever, all of those themes, like the environmentalism stuff, like noble things, I think, like those are cool things to put. Like, I had to explain to my kids like why this stuff's happening, and it's like I'm happy to do that. Like, you know what I mean? I think those are
the
noble
coolest idea is
ideas.
that the planet is actually sentient. Like, that's the coolest thing. Like, it's a neural network. Like, people are not understanding. Like, this is literally, you can upload your consciousness to, like, this isn't some vague, ill-defined pagan god. This is like a real thing, and that's super interesting.
But you don't need that. Doesn't need to be in this movie. You know what I mean? Like that idea is interesting and a cool sci-fi plot.
Well, it also sets up the big final. They win the battle because the planet tells all the animals what to do, basically. That's true, Eric. It's not wishy-washy. They use the pronoun her, tells the hammerhead things to charge, and the weird cat creature, I don't remember what it's called, to ride. I mean, like, all of them work together.
Awa. It's Awa. Come on, get it right. Get it right.
Awa. There we go. It's fine. It's part of the movie. It sets up the big conclusion. It all works in the context of the movie, right? It gets exciting. I remember how thrilling the final conflict is. It spends, I don't know, it's an hour 45 minutes setting up the final act.
The movie's too long. Movie's too long.
Oh, okay.
It's too long. Like, when you get to the part where they bring in the bulldozers, there's still like an hour left in the movie.
Yeah, that's around hour 45, hour and a half, hour 45. And it sets up a really exciting third act, and it's really, really engaging, and, it's thrilling. And yeah, you're rooting for the people who are, not the white capitalists who want to exploit the land, but the people who are in balance and, seem to be decent. It works. I had fun watching it while I was watching it. The thing is, though, I don't think about this movie after it immediately starts just like fading out of my brain. I don't think like the second I walk away.
Well, that's such an interesting thing with this movie because, like, again, biggest movie ever. But it seems to have disappeared from like the consciousness until like right now because the re-release and the new movie's coming out. And there's been in this anticipation for sequels for 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, it lasts at least the last 5 years. It's coming out this year. It's coming out. And it never has. And now I think it is actually coming out. I think that's for sure. There are trailers and everything. Like, I think it's literally going to come out in December. But
yeah, I think so.
Nobody seems to care about it for the biggest movie ever. It's weird. I think it's just like you're saying. It's like in one ear and out the next. And
I mean, like, you go, you have a good time, and then you're done. I mean, it doesn't resonate. It's not, the writing isn't like compelling in that way. I don't think about the themes. I don't think about it. It all works for me to enjoy the ride. I enjoy the ride. The riding's fine. I'm there. Had fun. Yay. Go blue people. And then I leave. I'm like, man, that was fun. I don't think about it. There's nothing to think about in the way that, like, the only thing I might possibly think, like, if I'm riding roller coasters, I want to ride the roller coaster again. I want to experience the ride again, which is what happened the first. Like, I saw it twice because it was really fun, but people don't quote it. It wasn't like a movie that defined me and very, very few people. And I keep thinking of, I don't know, have you ever seen the show How To, I think, with John Wilson?
No.
So he finds, like, it doesn't really matter. It's a great show, but it might not be your cup of tea, Eric. I don't know, but he somehow ends up with this like Avatar fan group. Like this was a year or two ago when he filmed it, and it was like 6 people. You know, it wasn't like you think of all the massive nerd culture that's out there. Star Wars has an insane amount of fans. Marvel has an insane amount of fans. Star Trek has the same amount of fans. Lord of the Rings, all this like nerdy stuff. Big, massive droves of fans. But and Avatar isn't that way.
Is that because Cameron didn't like exploit this the way, like there weren't like action figures and costumes and all that, cartoons, extended comic, but like he just didn't mine it the way Disney did. Disney owns it now, so maybe they will definitely start to do that. But like, or is it just because of the delay in the sequels? Because it took so long, we forgot about it.
Yeah, none of those other things I mentioned, other than not even Star Trek really, would go that long without something. Like you're not going to go a year without a Marvel movie until we're dead. It's just we're going to get at least one Marvel movie a year.
Like this movie is basically the entire length of the MCU. 2009 is when this movie came out. Yeah, Iron Man was the only one that had come out.
And Hulk, I think.
Let's count Hulk in there. But basically,
counts. I'm sorry, buddy.
The entire length of the MCU is since we've had an Avatar movie, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah. It is. He had enough leverage. He got to set the terms. Nobody could force him to make this movie faster. He wanted to get it right. It took so long because James Cameron wanted it to take that long.
His last 2 movies have been the biggest movie. Like he broke all the records, and then he did it again in his next movie. Like give the guy. Give him as much time as he wants.
He got it, sure. And allegedly, didn't he film several of these? I remember he was still like.
What I've heard is 2 and 3 are done.
Okay.
And they will come out apparently this December and next December. They're like finished. And then 4 and 5 are like written and ready to go, but it doesn't sound like they've filmed them yet. So I think from what I've heard and just listening to other people talk about this that are obviously more in it than I am, is that if these do well, if Shape of Water, no, Way of Water.
The Way of Water, I believe. Shape of Water is the movie
Shape of Water, that's
Dunkirk,
the fucking
you're upset about it for Best Picture.
Fucking the fish guy. Yes, Way of Water. If this does well, then they'll greenlight the next 2.
If it does well, this movie's going to make a ton of money.
Do you think so?
The Way of Water. Oh yeah. You just talked about Avatar getting re-released, movie you've seen before multiple times, and you took your whole family to see it.
And I spent $80 to go see it. Yeah.
And are you going to see The Way of Water, Eric?
Of course I will. We're all going to go. We're going to roll out in 3D and go see it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna spend a portion of your paycheck and go out. I'm going to see it.
At the end of
this, so will many families.
At the end of the re-release that we saw, there is like a 10-minute scene from The Way of Water, and it's fucking amazing. Like in 3D, the waves moving, and he drops in and out of the water. It is. You feel like you're swimming.
There's no way it's not going to make another $1 billion at a minimum. $1 billion's a conservative estimate. I would bet oodles of money to you, Eric, that The Way of Water grosses $1 billion US. Internationally, even more.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Worst take I've ever had. I thought Avatar was going to be a flop. I was like sure of it when the trailers dropped.
Because it was about blue people?
It's like, who is going to see this blue people fucking movie? I was like, you could not have talked me out of it. I was like, no way.
Nobody can ever talk you out of anything. No amount of evidence. Okay.
You've changed my mind on certain things in this.
I don't know. I remember you were so convinced that Suicide Squad was going to be good, and you could not dissuade you that it was going to suck, and you saw it and it sucked. And
10 minutes in, I'm like, wow, I am so wrong about this. But yeah, Avatar. That's a bad take by me. I thought it was going to be a bomb, but I am not the only one that thought that. There's
maybe, but it's going to make a bunch of money. You're talking about how much this is making. Everybody's going to. It's going to make so much money. It's going to probably have another like multi-month. Avatar, the first turn, I don't know how many months it was in the theater. It feels like for a full year almost. I don't know that that's literally true, but it felt like December 2009 to December 2010.
Well,
like Avatar
when we did the trivia,
actually in the theater,
it was only the 40th best opening of all time. Like, it didn't start out huge when it opened. It just stayed, $20 million for every month for like a year. Like you're saying, it had legs that no other movie.
Well, again, people will be like, oh, hey, because we had the 3D craze and we got so many shitty 3D movies after Avatar. But we're going to come back to having a movie that was shot in 3D, that's meant to be 3D, that's going to be thrilling and exciting and fun to watch. And people are just going to go have a really good time with it. I think it's just going to be one of those movies. It's just going to keep going and going.
But like, are you like, ooh, I want to see what Jake Sully's been up to? Like,
I don't care about the plot.
Do you give a shit about that?
No, I don't care about the characters. And the characters are all, they're copy paste to me. They have very little depth. They're fun. Again, totally work in the context of the Disney ride that I'm on. Okay, here's the ex-Marine who I guess is sad about losing his legs, sort of. That's sort of his personality.
His brother
I don't
just
know.
died, yeah.
But we hardly cover that. It doesn't. How sad. He doesn't mention his brother at the end. He doesn't have any.
We don't even know his name. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't. We lose the brother very quickly as being relevant. It's just that's why this meathead gets to do this, right? That's just the plot. Oh, okay. Well, he's a twin. This is why some guy who doesn't have scientific training was allowed to do this, and that ends up driving the plot. It's fine.
Well, it works because he's ignorant to the whole universe like we are, and we're learning it with him. So it really works well.
Of course. And he's not a egghead scientist, and he's able to learn, and he follows orders. So
he's not an advanced stats dork. He's a real man.
Sure, and he does what he's told. He's like a good soldier. She just tells him what to do, and he does it. And he doesn't think about it. He doesn't hesitate. And he just does it. Fine. He's a lunatic, jarhead guy, and it's fine. It works for the ride. We have a crazy evil colonel. Well, not in Kansas anymore. I mean, great, fun, cartoonish villain. He has no real personality, and I guess he's pissed that something gave him a scar, and he's mad about it, or he doesn't like non-humans. Whatever. Nothing. We got an evil corporate guy. Giovanni Ribisi, evil corporate guy. We got nerdy egghead scientists. I love. My favorite character is definitely Sigourney Weaver's character. She's great, tough old broad, but she's just tough old broad. So that's it.
What I was thinking about watching it this time is like the perspective of the Na'vi, the people, like they're literally just living their lives on this planet, right? And this woman shows up in the skin of one of their people and is just like, hey, hold on, like I'm an alien. You've never seen aliens before. I'm an alien from this other planet called Earth. I'm inhabiting a body of somebody that's just like you, but I'm cool. I'm just trying to learn your shit, so don't be scared.
I have an oversized Stanford shirt on, by the way. I do.
I went to Stanford.
I want to make sure you know I went to Stanford, even though you don't know what that is. But
I want to teach you English
because I'm smart.
And like that's their like that's how like imagine an alien coming to our. He's like dressed like Ben Lewis is like, hey, I know I look like you, but I'm actually an alien in a human body, and I'm just here to study you and like teach you stuff. So like be cool, all right? Like what a wild ass thing that would be to experience that as just like the Na'vi people. That's what I was thinking about this whole time I was watching. Is like how are they accepting any? Because they call him like a demon a few times. Like yeah, he would be a fucking demon. He's like inhabiting and then all of a sudden he just falls asleep because his body wakes up. Like insane shit. If you're just some alien living your life on another planet. But I was also thinking too about like kind of the meta nature of like the fact that we put on glasses to experience this world and how
there's something with avatars if you want to try. I don't think there's actually anything there, but you can take that like internet avatar space.
Well, no, like how Jake is doing that. Jake is putting on this and we are at the same time to watch it, to get into this world in a way that like you don't when you just go to a movie, you're not just sitting there, you're actually putting on these sort of glasses that help you experience the world in a different way. I don't know. Maybe that's nothing.
Oh, I get it. I had a couple of thoughts like, oh, Avatar, we have internet avatars, the meta. I mean, it's there if you want to, but again, this is a thrill ride to me. I have to ask Eric. We got Jake Sullivan being a human and sex with an alien.
Did he?
Able to accept that?
Well, he did it as an alien. He didn't do it as a human.
Okay, but he's still a human, right?
Is Neytiri hot? Do you think she's hot? Or you got a thing for Neytiri?
Last week you could not understand why, a human would think Jessica Rabbit is at all appealing.
A cartoon, yes.
but you can a 7 foot or 8 foot.
I told you. I said I understand
feline.
why Roger is attracted to Jessica. That makes sense to me. They're both cartoons.
Do you understand why?
Even though he's
Jake
a rabbit
Sullivan,
and she's a human, that's also a little weird. Like, is that okay?
Do you understand why Jake Sullivan is a human, is attracted to a 8 foot tall kind of feline alien? Do you understand that?
Is she a humanoid? Is that like if she's got all the parts as a human, she's just like a different like human race? I don't know.
You're grasping at straws. My point is, you want to box me in. I'm like, I get why people would find just Jessica
Can we
Rabbit
have sex with
attractive.
aliens? Is that okay?
Without being personally attracted to Jessica Rabbit, I can understand why somebody would be. Much like I can see how Jake Sullivan, after having a lot of intimate bonding experience with his,
it's just Jake Sully, but okay, keep
Jake
Sully.
Sully. Oh, I'm so sorry. Got to get that very important.
Get that shit
Super
right.
important. Yeah, like they workshopped that. They had to get that name perfect. Jake Sully. Okay, I can get why he would have a connection with her. I'm not into her. I just wondered if that was a big roadblock to you. Is a roadblock to you with Roger Rabbit? Apparently not with this. Maybe you identify with Jake.
Well, he had
Sully's.
the Na'vi people. I mean, he was in the body, like
so.
So his natural attraction is. If somebody
became a cartoon,
yes.
You could get then why
if
they
I
be
can
attracted
avatar into Roger Rabbit, then it's okay. If I'm into Jessica Rabbit, then that makes sense.
But okay.
Even though I am a human, I'm not into Jessica Rabbit. If
there's
I'm
no
avataring,
logic to this. It's fine. I can accept both as plot points, and it's fine. For whatever reason, you have a hang up with Jessica Rabbit.
Can an avatar into a human? Can it go back the other way? It could, right? Why couldn't it work the other way?
I don't know. These are all made up rules. Can they actually procreate? Like, can he get her pregnant?
I think yes. I think the answer to that is certainly yes, because in the sequel they have a whole family, and I think their son is like a human, which I don't understand. Yes, in the trailer, it's all about their family. It's Natiri and Jake Sully, and Jake Sully's he's a Na'vi person. He's not a human anymore.
Got that. At the end, he got his consciousness.
But they have a child,
and
the child, I think one child is an avatar, or not an avatar, a Na'vi person, and the other child is a human person. So they had a human baby, which leaves a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. If he has a body that's all Avatar, it would be only Avatar like genes.
Well, that doesn't. We got to see the movie to find out. I don't know. Maybe it's an adopted human.
I'm annoyed. From where? Like from the people living at the base? Like, we want you have a son.
Ribisi, they adopted him. I don't know.
Well, he got sent back to Earth, right? Like he was sadly walking, and that's 6 years one way.
I also heard that Sigourney Weaver plays their child. So, like, that's weird as hell.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be silly and ridiculous, but I don't have a ton of thoughts on this. This is like all spectacle. It's incredible spectacle. It's one of the best spectacle movies ever. I don't mean to denigrate. Like a popcorn movie, sure, you go and you have a great time watching it. You are thrilled and engaged, and then you just go forget about it. And then you're just like, all right, this is not a movie that's going to be any part of my personality ever. It's just
well, my question is do you feel like this movie should have been better? Like, better written, better plot-wise? Or is it just like the exact movie it needed to be? Obviously,
the movie it needed to be.
It made the most money ever. Like, how are you gonna argue with it? But, like, most people do not love this movie. Like, we'll give our ratings later.
It's not a level movie. Yeah, it's not a movie you love. Is this
anyone's ever favorite movie? Like, if you met somebody and they're just like, my favorite movie's Avatar, you'd be like, what is wrong with you?
It's probably, it feels like it's in single digits of all humans throughout the world. Like, it's less than 10 people that this would be their favorite movie. That's what it feels like.
Maybe immediately after it came out, like that summer of 2010, people are like, yeah, dude, it's fucking. I remember Avatar was fucking awesome. But then by 2011, is anybody saying that anymore?
No, it's not. I mean, like, The Dark Knight came out the year before Avatar. Dark Knight's great, and it was a movie I thought about all the time that lingered long after I went to the movie theater. Right, I saw Dark Knight. My brain was racing, and buddies and I talked about it, and it was a movie like, oh man, there's so many cool things happening in this movie. That it wasn't the case with Avatar. It wasn't the case with any other movie. No. There's just nothing there. He made a really crazy thrill ride. That's fine. It's fine to be shallow entertainment. It's super well made popcorn. shallow entertainment. It's just
is
fun.
it even Cameron's top 5th movie? Like,
No,
I don't know if I'd even put it in top
T2.
5. I think True Lies I like better. I don't,
Yeah, I mean, I'd put Terminator 2,
Aliens.
Abyss, Alien, and Aliens. I put
Alien
all 5
is
of those.
not Cameron.
Oh, Ridley Scott. My goodness. Yes, that's right. Sorry. Alien is better than this movie, though.
Well,
yes, not James Cameron.
Abyss is not better.
I haven't seen True Lies. Okay. Agree to disagree. I haven't seen True Lies in a very long time. I might like it better.
Well, I don't love Titanic, but is that better than Avatar? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's thrilling and it's hollow. It's a bucket of popcorn. It's a box of Gushers, Eric. It's fine, but it's not sustaining. It's not profound. It doesn't burrow deep into your consciousness. And that's fine. Not every movie has to be like life affirming or transformative or whatever.
I had a take about this movie. Is this movie what killed movie theaters? Like, did this ruin the experience? Because one, they were like, shit, we can just charge more for shit 3D, which is like one of the worst. Like, if you see
the
like a regular
stuff was rough.
Yeah, so bad.
In case anybody's listening, I'm not an expert, but I'll just tell you, like, you can shoot a movie in 3D. Like, I mean, for this to be 3D,
with a 3D camera. There's like a whole camera.
Like, Life of Pi meant to do it. Hugo meant to do it. Avatar, visually probably the best of all 3 of those. Like, the goal is to make a 3D movie. But almost all the other movies that came out in the 5, 6, 7 years after Avatar were post conversions. Like, they were shot like a normal movie, and then they did some technique afterwards to make it 3D, which looks a billion times shittier, and it was really just a cheap way to make more money. They could charge more for tickets because it's 3D. And that was one of the big takeaways. It's probably Avatar's legacy of the 2010s, is it created this whole 3D craze.
But then, like, not just that, they started filming stuff just so that we'll put 3D there. And it's like the purpose of the movie became more, let's just do let's make an extra few bucks with some 3D shit, rather than like, let's make a good movie, which I think is the lesson with Avatar, is like
there's that shit in there,
it's
but
not
it's
a good movie.
Part of a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, but like you're saying, the purpose of it is this ride, this experience. It's not like a fucking great movie. You're not going to rewatch it once a year because you love it. Nobody would. You'd be a lunatic to do that.
This isn't in the 500 best. Like we've talked before about what a best movies of all time. This isn't in the 500 best movies to see of all time. This isn't in the 1,000 best movies of all time. Or is it
one of the greatest movies ever made? Because of what it is. You know what I mean?
It's one of the best theatrical experiences of all time. But if you're talking about what I would define as great, it's thrilling, but there's just nothing there. I mean, it's even like Mad Max Fury Road. That movie lingered for me a long time. I saw it and I was pumped and hyped and kept thinking about it and thought it was so wonderful and crazy and awesome. And Avatar was just, man, that was fun. And then, I mean, I repeating myself over and over again, but I think we're kind of in the same spot here, Eric. Because
one last thing, I saw. Because, this movie, the lead of this movie, Sam Worthington, was in a bunch of shit for like a minute. He was like a big star.
They tried to make him a star. He was in the Terminator Salvation movie, right? He's in that one.
The Wrath of the Titans, Clash of the Titans movies. He was in those. Like
and one of the Terminator movies. Yep.
He just popped up and stuff for a while. He was just like in everything. But
and
he's in Avatar. He'll be in the next one. I read somewhere that Matt Damon was originally offered the role, the Jake Sully. He turned it down, and he was offered 10% of the profits of the movie and turned it down.
Jeez.
And so apparently he has said, like recently, or in the last 5 years or whatever, has talked about how like he thinks it cost him something like $150 million or something like that. Like imagine that to like shit, man, I probably should have been in fucking Avatar. But
it would have been a better movie with Matt Damon.
Would it though?
Not that much better.
Would it matter?
It wouldn't matter, but it'd be marginally, tiny, incrementally better. But it wouldn't make it a great movie. I think Matt Damon is probably better than Sam Worthington as an actor or a movie star. But I mean, that would make a negligible difference. So I don't know. I mean, what else? Do you have anything else to say about Avatar? I mean, we haven't even talked about the plot because it's just guy shows up, crippled. Doesn't have legs work. He gets to become a blue person and then falls in love with the blue person culture and helps fight the evil white capitalists.
The only thing, like, so there's this criticism of like white savior movies, Last Samurai is kind of Dance with Wolves is a very good example of that. Does this fall in that category because
I guess,
Avatar's
but it's
into
Alien,
him?
so it's Alien, so I don't think people care so much. But technically, you could argue, but I mean, we're not dealing with real humans that actually existed and actual cultures. It's a made up one, so I don't think most people are that bothered by it. But I guess technically, he has to save them. Whatever.
Yeah, he becomes the leader. He rides the fucking dragon thing, and
was it Tierra Mach 2 or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of nonsense.
I guess the last thing that I will mention, having just recently watching this in the theater and in 3D, like the VFX still stellar. Like, we're talking 10 plus years out. We've seen all these shit fucking Marvel movies with terrible VFX come out, and like,
yeah,
this movie still looks great. It's still, I mean, it's almost all CG. Like, there's none of that shit's there. I mean, the times where you see humans in like actual rooms, it's kind of jarring a little bit because most of the movie's not that. I actually think the 3D works best in some of those scenarios, like where your guy Stephen Lang's giving that speech and all the people, you can kind of see how far apart they are. I just think it looks really cool.
No, it looks great. Like visually, it's incredible. Yes, it looks better than probably almost every Marvel movie. I'm trying to think if one would even be better than that. I mean, he takes time to make it look great. He knows special effects. He's using the best technology super effectively. I mean, I have no qualms with how the movie looks.
He's obviously not rushing it. He's taking his time to make it the way he wants it to look.
No, I mean, Avatar, didn't it take him 12 years to do the first one?
After Titanic, he started making it immediately after Titanic came out.
Yeah, and this one is another 13 years this time. Okay, it looks great, and but I just couldn't escape. Like, I'm watching it right. There's a scene early on after they land on Pandora where like we get this vision like we're one of the soldiers getting off, and I'm like, oh, this feels like a ride. This feels like the Star Wars experience or something. It's like, we're walking amongst them, and we're getting to feel the jumps and the craziness and see stuff floating, and it's fun.
But that's that's what Scorsese has criticized Marvel for. Like, it's like they're just amusement park rides. And like,
I don't think they're not even like this. This is the real.
But I think Avatar started that. Is like, that's what the movies should be like, an amusement park ride. Whereas Scorsese's like, that's not what fucking movies are. This is cinema. This is supposed to move you emotionally, not be some sort of visual experience like a roller coaster. And I think
if most Marvel movies were like Avatar, really, then I'd care more about Marvel movies and I'd want to keep watching them. But they aren't.
Cameron making an Avengers movie, you know how fucking awesome that would be.
Right, but he'd want to do his own thing. He does not want to be micromanaged by Kevin Feige. He's like, look, you know how much money
throw Iron Man in Pandora? Like, what? Throw the Guardians of the Galaxy on Pandora? Like, you know how awesome that would be?
Sure, but it'd take him 10 years.
Sure, it would.
And wait. Kevin Feige would say no. Well, sure, but Kevin Feige won't. But yeah, sure.
He could make his own thing, like have totally disconnected and just throw Iron Man and shit.
I'm ready to go back to that, by the way. I'm ready to not have it be interconnected. Let's just let people do their own thing. They don't have to be in the same universe. They don't have to. Well, let's just go back to that. That's not really part of the
speaking of which, I'm not super excited for like 12 Avatar movies. Like, I hope there's something to it, but like, I'm really not excited.
I'll have a lot of fun with it.
I mean, I'm going to go. Don't get me wrong.
I will go too, and I'll have fun because they're going to look amazing. The writing will be okay. It's probably not going to be amazing. And I'll have a lot of fun. It'll be just a ton of fun. And then I'll go on and do something else. Like, man, I had fun watching Avatar: Way of Water. Can't wait to see the third one. It'll be fun. And then I'll forget all about it. And it's not going to be on any of my favorite movies of all time lists or best movie of all time list ever. It's going to be on almost nobody's list. You know? And that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is, can be a very pejorative thing. But I mean, this movie is extremely what it is. It is what it is to the utmost. A super fun, super engaging movie to see in the theater, have a good time and move on. That's what it is. People want a popcorn movie, and that can be a lazy way of talking about a movie that sucks and they didn't do any actual work to make the movie good or entertaining. This isn't that. This is like super well-made fun, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely.
I do hope he spends a little more time on the characters. Let's get some more interesting characters in these movies, because Jake Sully didn't do a lot for me. His buddy from Dodgeball didn't add a whole lot.
No, all the characters are like empty. They don't matter. They have very little complexity.
Michelle Rodriguez is like, there's Michelle Rodriguez flying a helicopter.
She decided she didn't want to bomb why? What prefaced that? I don't know. She just had to make that choice, right? She's not going to shoot home tree.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? I have no idea. We didn't develop that.
Yeah.
She just didn't want to.
She helped them. She was trying to help Sully and the scientists. She flew the science sorties.
So she identified with them. She became friends with them. It's fine. I don't. It doesn't matter. It's a thrill ride, but there's no actual like looking at moral agents and thinking about their choices and like figuring it all out and everything else. It's fine. It's silly. Yes, all the characters are so bland and forgettable.
Wait, so you think this movie's fine? It's fine for you?
Yes. It's a fine movie. So are we yes, it is. It is fine in case you didn't get that. Are we ready to do Letterboxd?
Yes, let's give your rating for your fine movie.
There's 2 ratings. One is if you just watch it at home like me. And the other one's going to be if you actually go to the theater and watch it. And they're 2 different ratings. If you go home and watch it, 3 out of 5. It's okay. You get the thrills are diminished. They're not gone, but they're heavily diminished. But if you see it like in the theater, bump it all the way up to 4, maybe even 4.5. See it in person is super fun. It's not going to change your life, but you're going to have a good time. You're going to really have fun. Anyway, so the 2 different ratings.
I give it a 3.5 is my overall rating for it.
Sure.
Just kind of melding both of those things, like you're saying. As a movie, it's probably like a 3, like you said, 2.5, 3-ish. Because this, I mean, if it's just you're just talking like, is this a great movie? No, it's not. I think the CG is good enough on its own, but then with the 3D shit, like, I mean, I can't remember seeing a movie like that, like the movie experience. And, my kids were like trying to grab the screen and shit. Like, that's incredible stuff, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's probably the most visually
it's like
striking
magic.
3D
it's
movie
literally
of all
like
time.
magic,
Yeah, there's probably, in terms of effects, there's probably never been a better 3D movie. Even something like Hugo or Life of Pi, which has really good effects. This is just the most exciting, fun to watch.
You don't need to probably... I mean, there is not a better 3D movie ever in the history of film. I don't think that's a probably statement,
Well, I just mean from the effects standpoint. There might be 3D movies that are more compelling overall, but they're 3D. But it doesn't matter. We're splitting hairs. It's great. Watch it in person. Have fun. And then move on.
Well, actually, what you should do is you should avatar into a Na'vi and then watch it. Then you're really, truly experiencing it.
Well, then you'll be able to understand why he's attracted to whatever her name is. I don't know what her name is. I forget everybody's name.
Isn't it Natiri? Didn't I get that
Na'vi
right?
is the species.
And Na'vi's the aliens, yes, and they live on Pandora.
Okay.
And they worship...
Which is what?
Awa.
Isn't Awa what they call it? Isn't Awa the name of the planet also?
Yeah.
Because they don't call it
their
Pandora.
deity.
That's our name for it.
Yeah.
But it's also the planet itself.
Well,
right?
I think it's one and the same.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. They're the same for them. And Pandora is just our name for it. We just made it up. Anyway. I mean, there's not much else to say about this one. Give me your 5 degrees of separation. Where'd you go?
I went with your guy Stephen Lang, who plays the commander guy. He's really great in this movie, by the way. Like,
he's hitting the beats just right.
I really love the part where he rushes out to shoot the ship, and he just goes out in the airlock he just doesn't even fucking care that he can't breathe, and he's just shooting. He's holding his breath, and then he pulls out his handgun and he's shooting, and then the little minion guy runs up and then puts the face mask on him so he can breathe, but he just didn't even give a shit that he couldn't breathe.
He's a badass motherfucker, and that's cool. Tough as nails, and that's it.
I first saw Stephen Lang in a movie called The Hard Way. Have you ever heard of that movie?
No.
I think it's either late 80s, early 90s. It stars Michael J. Fox and James Woods. And Michael J. Fox is like an actor who's trying to play a cop in a cop movie, and then he shadows James Woods, who's like a real cop. And Stephen Lang's the bad guy in the movie. He's just like kills people with the
Does Michael J. Fox get embroiled in like an actual crime? And
yeah. Yeah.
By like do
well,
all
he tries to like take
work.
over James Woods' life. He like hits on his girlfriend, and he gets caught up in like real crime. And I think he ends up catching Stephen Lang in the end.
Sure, right, gotcha.
Delroy Lindo's also in that movie. Great actor. He's in a movie called Defy Blood, Spike Lee movie. Did you see that?
No.
Came out a couple years ago. Pretty good movie.
Okay.
Chadwick Boseman is in that movie. Dearly Departed. Black Panther. He's in a movie called Draft Day with Kevin Costner. Costner's in Field of Dreams.
Okay, this is fun. So I also did Stephen Lang. I thought I like trying to find a side character. I try to avoid the.
I was gonna do Sigourney Weaver, but I like Stephen Lang too much in this movie.
Well, and Zoe Zeldana. This was like my first experience with Zoe Zeldana, and she has obviously been in a boatload of stuff.
The
since.
real Zoe Zeldana is very attractive. Her as a cartoon avatar.
So then, how could you even watch this movie? You had to be like, wait, you want to marry? That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't want to marry any of them because you're a different species. This doesn't make sense. Consciously, you're a human. This doesn't work. It's the reaction you ought to have had, but it's fine. Men Who Stare at Goats. Stephen Lang's in. I've never seen The Men Who Stare at Goats.
What is that? Is that a Matt Damon? Is Matt Damon in it? Okay.
I don't know if Matt Damon's in. George Clooney, Ewan McGregor, Jeff Bridges, about apparently a real program about people who thought they could kill with their minds, and so they'd stare at goats. It's a comedy that I've never seen. Looked quirky, but I've never seen it. But Jeff Bridges is in that. Jeff Bridges is in The Last Picture Show. Very classic early 70s Pete Von Donovich movie. Ellen Burstyn's in that movie, and she's also in Draft Day.
Larry McMurtry. Oh, you did Draft Day also?
As well, yeah. Ellen Burstyn's in it. Yeah, I did. I also did Draft Day.
Is The Last Picture Show a Larry McMurtry novel, isn't it?
I have no idea what the novel is based on, but it's a... Have you ever seen The Last Picture Show?
The Bogdanovich, right? Isn't it Bogdanovich?
Yeah.
No, I have not seen it.
It's black and white. You'd hate it. It's early 70s black and white.
Paper Moon was a fucking awesome movie, so I do need to watch more Bogdanovich. I think that's the only Bogdanovich movie I've seen is Paper Moon.
Okay, well, I like The Last Picture Show quite a bit. Someday, maybe, I'll force you to watch it. It's a pretty good movie. Anyway. Using Men Who Stare at Goats, that's my 5 degrees of separation. So, all right, Eric, it's spooky season.
Yes, let's get to the horror.
It's you get a bonus clue because we're going to do some spooky movies.
Let's lay it out. So for the next 4 episodes, I think we're doing horror.
Yep, I'm picking 2. Eric's picking 2. Horror movies. So Eric already knows the genre ahead of time. I'm lazy. I'm going to give him 5 clues. He can guess it whenever he thinks he knows the answer to it.
Are there sexy zombies in the? Because we learned last week that's my thing. I'm just kidding.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No. It's a confession. We got it on tape. I'm lazy. I always start with the year 1988. Do you know which horror movie from 1988 we're watching?
Ooh, no, but it narrows things down. So we're late 80s.
All right.
That's big slasher. That's big time. Well, also like Freddy Krueger's big then.
He gets considered a slasher, but yeah. A monster, but I think he gets lumped into the slasher genre. Maybe it's one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. Maybe it's a Friday the 13th.
Child's Play was big in that late 80s. All right, we'll keep going.
Yep. So speaking of zombies, Frank Darabont co-wrote the screenplay for this movie.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps you. All right. The bad news: this movie only got a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's clue number 3. Sad. 63%.
Well, traditionally, horror movies don't do great on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not. There's not very often that they, and also don't do well in awards and all that stuff, which is some bullshit. But okay. So not a critically loved movie from the late 80s.
At the time, I'm going to preface it with at the time. I would say that this movie's probably gotten an evaluation later on, I think, and is more well regarded. But keeping the sad news train going, clue number 4, cost $10 million to make, only made $8.2 million.
So it was a bomb too.
Correct. I think it probably with like VHS probably made its money back, but didn't make any money. It was not a smash hit.
Okay, here's the question though, because this is going to get important as we go forward. How true to horror are we being? Like,
I would say this is very clearly a horror movie.
Okay, all right. So it's not like one of those mixed genre kind of things. This is a true horror movie.
I don't think it's ambiguous. I don't think you'd be like that. Does that count? I don't think we're going to be having that question once you realize what the movie is. I think it's pretty clearly horror. Certainly, when it was in the horror section at my Hy-Vee, when it was at the Hy-Vee, it was in the horror section. But
can I throw out a guess?
If you want.
Because I get one more clue, right?
Correct.
Is it Poltergeist?
Nope, you're off by about 7 years, I think.
Am I? Okay.
6 years. I think Poltergeist is 81, 82.
I thought it was later.
I love Poltergeist, but no, it's not Poltergeist. The star of this movie is Kevin Dillon.
Kevin Dillon?
He's in Something About Mary, and
isn't that Matt Dillon?
Oh, there's two Dillons. Yeah, so this is the other one.
Kevin Dillon is the guy from Entourage.
Correct, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Shit. He's the star of the movie?
I think so. Yeah, I from what I understand, and I know this. I've not seen this movie before, so from what I'm looking at from the casting list and what I know about it, he is the star. He is certainly a prominent character if he's technically not the star for whatever reason.
Leprechaun? I don't know.
I know. I'll give you another bonus clue. The cover is very pink. It's got an almost all pink cover for like the VHS box art. That's not gonna help. All right, it's The Blob, 1988. The Blob.
Oh, The Blob. Yes. All right.
I've never seen it. So friend of the pod. So Brian Eggert had I don't know, Twitter gives you those questions. People will post that, like, what are 5 movies that made you realize St. Paul is a cesspool? And then people can just list their 5 movies. It was like, I don't know, it was the 5 scariest or overlooked or that stuck with you. But he had The Blob in there, and I realized I'd never seen it, but it was a movie I remember the cover vividly. It freaked me out as a kid. I never rented it, never saw it. But it's literally just like a person being subsumed by this pink blob. It looks freaky. Looks fun. I'm expecting some late 80s creature effects. So anyway, have you seen it?
I have seen it. Honestly, it might be the first horror movie I ever saw.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now this is like triggering some memories for me. I was very
you
young.
You and your brother could have been watching in the late 80s or early 90s. He might have showed this to you.
Very young. I know there's this Steve McQueen. Our guy Steve McQueen was in the original Blob, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't think you'd want to see that one. I don't know too many good horror movies from the 50s. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers is great, but no, I want to catch up on a movie I've not seen that I remember being freaked out and never having seen it just from the cover. Looks great. So The Blob.
There's a bunch of motorcycle stuff. I remember he tries to like kind of run away from the Blob on a motorcycle. Yeah, no, I remember it fondly. I probably haven't seen it since I was like a little kid, like way too young to have seen this movie. But
we're gonna uncover some deep subconscious stuff in Eric's brain. Okay, I love it.
Maybe I'm attracted to the Blob. Maybe that's my whole thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. By the way, thanks for listening.
Yep. Check out Blob and get ready for spooky season. Thank you.